look at these. So, Lisa, you said you're going to ask me first, then I'll ask you. Uh, oh, wow. There's a lot of questions for this first one.
I mean, I just threw in all the stuff that was on top of my head
Okay.
that would be interesting to talk about. So,
Okay.
but
I'll
yeah.
answer. I'll answer A, B,
Well, we can go through that
C.
as you guys are. So it's live.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. Cool.
hey
Oh, we're live. All
everybody.
right.
Good
Hello.
morning.
Morning.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sports Medicine Broadcast, a podcast to promote and improve your practice as an athletic trainer. Usually, if you're inventing a product, it's to meet a need, and the whole point of meeting a need is to improve your practice as an athletic trainer. I haven't invented anything other than this podcast, and I can't really help you with the business, establishing the business, or testing out the product. But Alicia and Jay, who joined us last week for AT Inventors Part 1, have, and so they're back again. And this is AT Inventors 2. So again, Jeremy Jackson, host of the Sports Medicine Broadcast. We got AT Inventors 2 back with the same pair of experts. They're in various levels of their AT Inventor expertise. Without much further ado, Jay is going to do most of the questions. Jay and Alicia are going to kind of go back and forth most of the questions and things that talking points that they have. Again, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/AT Inventors 2 will have the show notes. And then the goal is come back around in March after we've gone through this series of 3 podcasts to take listener stories, questions, help get you those answers that you need so that you can more successfully invent your product to help athletic trainers improve their practice. So, all right, so Jay, Alicia, welcome back. And who's starting us off?
Thanks for having us. I'll start off. Jay,
Yes.
where are you in your whole business since you're fresh as you said last time? Just as far as
Yeah.
what's fresh in your mind about pushing the button saying yes, I'm going to start a business, like the whole process. How's that been for you?
Yeah. So for me, on the record in February, I filed the articles of organization for my LLC. So based on me learning the process of doing it with my CPA, the day of the filing of the organization is actually the day the business started. So for me, February 9th will always be it'll always be a big day for me to remember. I guess is like the birth of the company. For me, I went with the route of LLC. I just wanted to keep something simple for now. My CPA was saying, there's, options of S corp, C corp. If you want to go into what those two are, I'm not as well versed in it, but I just went simple, just single member LLC until I see a need to grow. And I think it's kind of been the basis of everything I've done so far. Is just, start out small, and when you hit that demand, then exponentially grow as it seems fit.
So you just have you had opportunity to consider a business partner, or is that, and have you gone through those the thought process?
For me, I'll just ask you this back. What would you consider a business partner for people who don't know? Before I answer that.
Yeah, I mean, there's silent business partner that maybe just puts in the money, and then there's ones that talk and tell you, you're working together, or you're working together, you're fighting together, you're in it to win it together, and you have a common goal. So yeah, I mean, it could be whatever structure is best for you.
Yeah. So as of now, I do not have a business partner, and I think that'll be. Excuse me. I think that'll be a difficult thing for me personally when bringing on a business partner, because just talking about, the core values, of the company and why I started it. I need to have someone on board with, the vision and what I'm trying to do and completely changing the way I approach the gear space for the profession. And also not there, but also, cultural values for me as a first generation American, someone who loves, just world culture. That person, if I bring on as a business partner, has to be about that. So, I think it's to try to bring that person on. I'm going to be a little hesitant at first, and I'm open to it. But I think at this point, I need to get more established before I, bring more people on too. Because, I'm everything that's going under through Nexus, it's all my designs, with the 7 things I have lined up. How do I, how do I bring that person on to be part of that, when they haven't done anything yet? So there's, I have to make some divides and kind of go from there. But it's tricky though.
Right. So you have the sweat equity because you've put all that in up front.
Yes.
And there are some people who, like, I don't know if they're still doing this, but back in the day, it was, put together your business plan and like, invest a lot of time in your business plan and research, and then present to
the angel investors.
And angel investors, and then the angel investors just give you money, and then you do whatever. I don't know if that's still happening or not.
I think it definitely is. I'm definitely confident in saying that I never wanted a heavy investor because, again, for someone who doesn't understand the core values, I don't want them having to dictate or say in how I, approach any product design or the voice I give out in social media. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think definitely the angel investors, that's another route to go, but I think it's just, you have to understand what you're getting into when you do that. But I think for, projects that require heavy amounts of dollars, and that could be a route that, that could be sought after. So.
Yeah, I've seen it from both ends where you just build your business up from nothing, or you're going out after the angel investors and the money, and I've seen that from my brother's end where he's, constantly raising money for his companies. It's definitely adds into the mix, because when people invest in you and give you money, they're entrusting that, it's going to go somewhere. And the first people that want to get paid are the investors.
That's the thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to, think of it that way versus, we can talk about this later with the financials, with thinking about employees and business structure and things like that. But yeah, I initially had a business partner, and we did an LLC initially, and then through with a lawyer and articles of incorporation, and then you have to do a fictitious business license name and city, and I'm in California, so I feel like I'm always writing a check for something, for some sort of business tax or something. I hear a lot of people say like, there's no way I'd have a business in California, but
Cali is hard. They do.
Yeah, we got the sunshine. We pay for the sunshine and the gas at almost $5 a gallon. And that was good, but if again, like you were saying, if you're not on the same page where you both want to be at work at a certain time and you're like, you're all focused, then it can be, slightly problematic because you're just not, your energies aren't matching. And then eventually, when I put the business kind of on hold, was traveling with you.
Would you say that?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, would you say that it's very important to have specific defined roles just between 2 or 3 business partners within a company?
It can be,
or you all can play off of each other.
Yeah, it can be. My weaknesses, I want to find that strength in a business partner. So she did the financial things and like some of the phone calls, things like I didn't want to do, and I was the sweat equity with the building of the product and like figuring out all the all of that. So it played off very, very well. Yeah. Okay. If you're both like, your strengths are only product design, but nobody is over here looking out at the financials, then you should really consider finding somebody who can help you look at the financials, and then you guys learn it together. So I think it depends on what you're doing and your core values and your ultimate goals. Okay. After I decided to turn this back on and around, the business has been, had some crazy things where we were initially in a business incubator for warehouse space, and we were paying the rent, but they were not paying the rent to the landlord company. And we come to work one day, and there's like a note on the door, like 30-day lockout notice, right? So we're scrambling, but yeah. So in 2012 or 14, I was like, okay, we mutually decided to dissolve the partnership, and then because it initially was a LLC, and then I now have an S corp. So
Okay.
So the other thing that I did want to say is, when you are deciding that your business structure, it would be really great to talk to a CPA
I agree.
about all the taxes and costs and all of that.
And just having a good CPA is very important in general. I think you would agree.
Yeah. You mentioned your accountant is also an athletic trainer.
He is also an athletic trainer, and like myself, a Marine. So it's cool to have.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so it's really nice because everything we talk about, there's really no questions on ifs. He understands pretty much everything related to athletic training. The only thing that's kind of new for us is kind of diving within the product realm, because talking about the expenses or anything business wise for per diem services, athletic training services, all that stuff, that's in the books for him. He's got it down. But the product realm, and then economic nexus that we're both learning about, that's where things get a little crazy. But we're slowly working through to make sure we're just correct about everything and doing everything safely, because the digital age, it is constantly evolving and changing, so we have to try to keep up with that.
I, as a business owner, initially, for the most part, unless you're, I don't know, you just have somebody completely, you have an idea and you sell it to somebody, but for the most part, you're gonna, because you have to, because you don't have the resources, you're going to really learn everything and how to be a master at so many different things.
That's true.
Whether it's like video editing and social media nuances and creating programs and learning how to PDF things and export PDFs.
All the spreadsheets.
Accounting. Yeah, the accounting. So when I used to speak at other college classes, they'd say athletic training, they'd ask me what piece of advice you could give to students. And I think it would be really important if students took a business class and an accounting class. So, because not everybody's going to stay within athletic training where you have a salary and the money's coming in, or you're just hourly. You're going to branch out. Maybe you want to go and see private clients and learn how to do billing and run your financials. So if you have the opportunity to take business classes and accounting, it will really open up your world as an athletic trainer. If you decide to branch out.
And I think definitely, for this, I think the hard thing about that now would be, for all the, the transition to MSAT, I don't think there's room for it.
Right.
But again, there's there's AT entrepreneurs out there who can kind of, help guide that with, their own courses. But I would say, if it was back in our era for the undergrad, you could take an elective for business or accounting and get it done. But at least, now there's AT entrepreneurs that can help out with that.
Right.
So real quick, let me jump in. Toki from the medical simulator or medical dissertation simulators. He's watched last week, was commenting, and y'all mentioned that being an S corp, and he said, you can still be an LLC and function as an S corp using a certain form, which is 1120S. So I have that in the show notes there. But if we're talking about establishing the business, then that's maybe a little further on down the line once you establish the LLC and then decide you're going to change it to an S corp or whatever it is. But just Toki, thanks for watching and throwing in your comments there. Go ahead.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
Thank you. Yeah, it is complicated when you look at all the structures. That was totally new to me, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So
and for all the listeners, it's I think you've experienced it, Alicia, like when you're doing supplier verification, supplier request forms, anything online where you have to verify, the structure of your business. Sometimes you don't have those options of putting, it'll say, LLC dash this, LLC dash this. I've had that issue so many times where I couldn't put that I was a single member LLC. So I always had to verify my CPA, call, hey, if this is an option, may I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Just for anyone watching, yeah, it does get complicated. It's always good to have that CPA at hand to answer those immediate questions.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the other formalities, like your reseller certificate and business insurance. You've got your business license. How's that process been for you?
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'll say real quick since I'm not involved as much. So for me, I do not have a reseller now since I'm just functioning just direct sale. But I'll let you kind of take over with any wholesale business insurance, because for right now my product doesn't need business insurance. Another product I'm developing will definitely need so.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to elaborate on that, just because I don't have it, hasn't applied to me as much yet.
Right. Yeah. So your reseller certificate, you have to have your business license. It's sort of like you need this, but you have to have this. But in order to have that, you have to have this, and then you're just playing that hopscotch game,
Yeah.
But yeah, your reseller certificate allows you to get items tax-free that you're going to use for your business. So I have, Silkscreen Ink Supply Company, and or sometimes you can get it depending exactly what you're doing with the item. If it's whether you can get it at wholesale or not, because it's part of your design process, then you get the wholesale amount versus the retail. So you need the resale certificate to sell anywhere. So even if you're at a trade show, you sometimes get a temporary resale certificate for that city, and then you pay taxes to that city for your sales at that trade show. So
I see. So it's really more for physical on-hand sales, correct? For a resale certificate.
Right. Yeah. It's two things. It's for your sales, so that you can pay the sales tax due to the state. And it's also for showing that you are a manufacturer or a distributor and getting items at without the taxes, because you don't want to buy, $1,000 worth of item of product that you're going to use and then pay tax on that, because eventually you're going to tax your customer.
Exactly.
On that. So yeah. And then, depending on the structure, it's either monthly sales tax due, where you're doing all your calculations and then you write a check.
Yeah.
Well, it's automatic deposit now. It just comes right out of the bank account.
Yeah. I guess I'll branch off of you. So for me, it's kind of mine deals with more of an economic nexus, since my specialty is online sales, and I'm not a manufacturer like you. So I'm in the same situation to where I have to keep track of my numbers per particular state. For example, Cali is the highest, so I don't have to do my sales are exempt from California unless I hit a specific number of the year. So not necessarily a reseller certificate, but I have to watch, like I said, my economic nexus.
Right. Yeah, it can get pretty complicated with each state as well.
Yeah.
As far as business insurance, there's a few things. There's product liability insurance. Mine is really, really high because I'm looped in there with like skateboards. Like nobody knows what to call me, right? So I'm like in this really high rate where people are breaking things because they're riding skateboards. As far as product liability insurance, and so instead of paying like a huge chunk every year, I'm able to pay like 30% and then do a monthly payment with a little bit of interest. So that helps with cash. That helps with cash flow, right? $5,000 isn't just flying out every July, right? It's
that'd be scary.
It's kind of gradual, yeah. But that's something that you would keep in mind when you're looking at financials. Like in July, you're going to have a super bill for $5,000. Like, you know, you got to stock some money up.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with my patent. I tried to look up the patent, the fee structure, and I just couldn't make heads or tails of it. I was like, oh geez, like,
Was it confusing?
Yeah, it's straightforward but confusing at the same time. There's a lot of different fees and continual fees.
I have seen that.
And every year, it's not every year that you're paying the fees. It's I don't know. It's like on a weird schedule, like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7, 10, something like that. But
That's
it goes
weird.
up. It goes up every year. Every time to maintain your patent, the fee is higher. And they do have like a micro entity status where you're not paying the full $3,500. You can pay the $1,800, something like that. So so that would be another thing. Your kind of a fixed cost over time to consider if you need a patent. So you have that.
Now, did that cost kind of different between your design versus utility patent, or were they universally the same?
Yeah, initially you put in a little bit of money and you say, I have this idea, I'm just holding its place.
Yeah.
Right, a provisional patent. And then, because I wrote about 90% of my patent, and I had a patent attorney look over everything, make adjustments. My fee for that, you know, was couple $1,000s for for the patent attorney. But then you have fees on top of like going into the patent, the database. And then nobody ever gets approved the first time around. They always send it back to you because they want to change. Yeah. So I had like
I've heard this.
Yeah, I've had like three minor things to change, and it was like language from like, you know, rod to post or something, like, you know, something really simple. But it was really simple to do, and you needed engineered drawings. So our engineer had those drawings to add in there. So that's an added investment there. But then, you know, they come back at you, you got to make an adjustment. I think there's probably a fee for that too. And then you're ready to go. And then there's a little bit of a fee, and then there's a little bit of a fee. And it just is, so it's a consideration. Like, do you really need a patent? Do you have a product that it's really easy to do, and maybe it's just novel, but not really like expanding upon what's out there? Then maybe you don't need the patent, because everybody can make that one thing and do it. And are you better off investing your initial, you know, $5,000 into your product line and just going for it and having inventory, or
and then product improvement too?
Product improvement, continual things. So, or do you have something that is really special that you do want patent protections? Now, also the U.S. patent, you're good for the United States. Anywhere else in the world,
know.
Forget it. You've got So there are companies that have patent. You see their whole list of patents, right? They're patented in this country for enforcement, and that makes sense. If you got the money for it, and
I agree. You need, because I've seen it, how they get international patents. I'm thinking this probably had to cost so much money to do this.
Sure. Yeah. But if you're making the iPhone, you know, and the software for the iPhone, that pretty much makes sense. Yeah. So there is a lot of paperwork and just continual things to do with starting your business, but, you know, don't let it overwhelm you. It's just part of the process.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, let's see here.
Down the line here.
We did talk a little bit about funding, bootstrapping versus like Shark Tank, where, you know, you and I both get the questions about Shark Tank, and
and people like to joke about it or be serious, and they said you should do it, and I'm thinking no, because, you know, my product is, you know, the style of my product is out there. I'm just making it, you know, very different. So, and that's what I would tell anyone here, you know, looking for an investor or just trying to figure out how unique your product is. You have to scan everywhere and kind of see how you're going to compete, with your market. And I know that's another topic we can get into here, and a method of selling. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, well, I will say with Shark Tank, I think it also really depends on the product. If
Mhm.
like that guy that made the smiley scrubber sponge, super simple, teeny tiny, easy to ship out. I'm sure totally great. But there's been other companies that have a bigger, heavier product, and
Mhm.
it takes a lot to produce that time,
Yeah.
effort, money, financial investment. And even though that their sales went up 100,000 to a million, even though you had
Mhm.
that $1 million sale, you still had the amount of work and financial
The
also went in to
overheads
match
just
it, right? So
yeah.
so they were like, yeah, we're $1 million sales, but we're still in debt because
Yeah.
it takes so much. So I think it's something to consider again what your product line is, if that's
Yeah.
um, if it's a physical
Just,
product, it's hard
I'll say
versus,
it's also sustainable,
yeah.
based off your business model. Because I would say, I've only watched Shark Tank a handful of times, but most of the people that, from what I've seen, have gone on there have, they're somewhat established, but when they go to Shark Tank, they're looking for that push to, I guess, do the exponential boom.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, I don't know if you're going to see someone like me who's only 6, 7 months into this, and boom, I need $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I'll say. For anyone watching out there, yeah, it's not as. I think you'll see more people are trying to make that big jump when they go to Shark Tank, not as early on as me, or maybe someone like you who really wants to get world go crazy with a very,
Mm-hmm.
very heavy investment to do something big.
Right, right. With that investment means you need more people,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
So
But that's the same thing to, like, when you're picking, if you have two sharks that offer you something, why are you going to pick that person? Again, going back to the core values of your company, or do you just really honestly need the money, and you're going into how are you going to interact with your investor? A
mm-hmm.
lot of things that come into play there.
Right. Yeah, let's circle back to that, the core values in
Mm-hmm.
figuring out really because you and I are in similar but different types of businesses. Like
Yeah.
going back to core values to really sit and think about what the type of business you want to make, um, and the life that you want to live versus the life that you do not want to live. Like, really encouraging you to have um, a greater understanding of your core values, what you want and what you don't want, um, when you are deciding to start a business.
Yeah, I would say, so for me, I think as a small veteran, in minority owned business, the one thing I always want to try and maintain is my ability to communicate. When people talk about huge companies, you're not going to be able to talk to the CEO.
Right.
Everyone wants to, know who the person behind it is. Even though my social media pages, I don't show myself a lot. Even though, like, I'm always happy and I want to stay in communication with people. At the end of the day, Nexus isn't really about putting me behind it. The company is about serving the people. That's really, the big thing. And also for me to be as that person behind it. Hey, someone, I'm very, um, I have a very relaxed, conversational tone in my emails and messages as well, because I just want to be that person where I'm not this super big business owner. I'm an AT like you. Let me interact with you. So I just want people to say, hey, you could DM me, hey Jay, what's up? What do you think of this? I really like this. I always want to keep that tone to where, I'm not above you. I'm right beside you, and that's the one thing we always say in the military as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to, expand on something, one of your values, I can go into other things that I believe in as well.
Yeah, I've seen it too, where I've been flown out to a company and on their dime, and I couldn't even really meet with the owner of the company. I mean, we did, but it was like in
Yeah.
passing, and then it was with like a whole group of his people, and that's fine for some businesses where they have a huge resource, they have a huge group of people who are running all of these programs.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't want that. Like I answer all my phone calls and emails, and people are surprised. They're like, "You sound like the girl in the videos." I'm like, "Well, that's me.
Yeah.
You've reached me."
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and really looking at things like, do I want to have, I think, what is the basis for your business? Do you want to make money, or do you want to provide something that enriches the lives of everybody else? Do you want to have something that fulfills you, where you're you're maybe working 80 hours a week, but you're super fulfilled? Or you want to be in front of everybody at every trade show, like Louis Stack is from Fitter, and other people are running things? Do you want to I was just in the pool the other morning and there's an older guy, and we always chat, and he's like, I always like the idea of receiving money rather than making money. And I was like, yeah, that's a really cool idea. Like he received it because he worked really hard, versus just, I have a job and I get paid for it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think if pure money is your motivation,
It's almost stacks to cash.
Yeah, then you really have to look at your profit margins and price properly, and do that. And if it's more about quality time with everybody, then you might have to be okay with not having like that huge income. Like, do you want to have a boat and drive a Tesla? Or are you okay like driving the car that has almost 300,000 miles on it, because you're investing that money back into your people and into your business?
But I think it's for those values you talk about. That's why you'll find, people buy into. For me, I'm always happy to say that, people always ask, hey, do you have discounts? Yes, I do. And I'll always honor a good military discount and a student discount. And I always know at the end of the line, as I'm punching my numbers in for the second order, I know I'm not going to hit that regular mark from the MSRP. I always have to make it, average price adjustment. And that's okay, because I will always, stand by to always be an option to have availability to the students and to the military people, because it's value to me. I hate seeing it to where you see, really big companies, they only give a 10% military discount. And for me, I'm ignorant. I don't know who goes into all the financials, but I see other companies, usually they're also veteran-owned companies, who can go down to 25, 30%. And that's where, I respect that. And for me, my price, to give that lower price, means more than just giving a big discount. It's also to those people in the military that have gone through all these things that people just really don't see behind the scenes of those struggles. And that's what my military price represents. I'm going to hopefully, try to bring it lower for the future. Again, we're just talking about values, and it's really with design, versus making a lot of money, or, doing something that you feel fulfilled with. I'm kind of in the mix of trying to get everything done. And even though it wears me out, I love, designing this. And like you said, it's nice to receive the money from everything I put behind the designs, versus just, getting my regular W-2, which is, it's good, steady, but it's been rewarding to just see people get the product and rave about it.
Right. Yeah. And within sticking with your core values, stick with that. Like, if you're kind of a kooky sense of humor, then you be that kooky sense of humor, because that is your authenticity. If you're kind and genuine, and military is is one of your core values, then stick with that, because people can see through that. The not, being not genuine. And that's, for me, that's, I think it's also the
voice. I agree. And I think it's also the voice you portray, whether it's on marketing, on emails, newsletters, all those things. I've seen where some business owners are very, very real, which can go good and bad.
Right.
And then some people are too cookie cutter, and just like, you want to see a little bit of personality. I'm not the most exhilarating person, but I do show personality, especially in the voice of my social media.
Yeah. And people really gravitate to that and come to know you as a person, and enjoy that nuance. Yeah. What about business mentors? Do you have an experience with business mentors?
Yeah, it's I would say it's really more informal now, and just really talking to most of the people that I talk to are really in private practice, are doing other cash for service AT services. So it's not I'd say the most relatable, but at least it's still good to talk to another AT business owner who, understands those good and bad days. And then also just give you advice for how you should, try to push things into the future. Because I think as business owners, we always have to look forward, and we can't stay stagnant, because staying stagnant is what leads to other people, beating you. And as I would say this, in the product world, we're in a dog eat dog world. It's not as simple as being a physical location in private practice, and then some people I talk to over in New York, they're on the West Coast, but for me in online sales, it's it's a completely different ballgame. So I have to stay on my toes and really take into what people tell me.
Yeah.
Wisdom. Yeah. How about you? I guess, or even now, for how established you are, do you still have mentors?
Oh yeah. I I would encourage anybody that when you meet anybody, there's some sort of gift that the universe is going to give you through that conversation, whether it's a one-time conversation or a continued relationship. Like one of my professors in college, she was a department head, and we were in a meeting, and she keeps a notebook of every ingoing and outgoing call. And it was just something that we were talking about in passing. She was like, always keep a log of, your ingoing and outgoing calls on this spiral bound notebook, and it's all there, and you can go back and legal document. And I've been doing that since college, and it's awesome. I mean, yeah, I've had to refer back to it, specific date. We talked about this, and it really helps, keep you on track. The other thing is, like, leave the end of the day with your desk clean. don't leave it a mess, right? But yeah, throughout, I've had several types of mentors, and so I had mentioned last time that I was a type of person that watched every instructional video of the products we had. Louis Stack, who's the inventor of the fitter, he was a professional skier, Olympic skier, and he was on this video, right? This is back in the late 90s, right? He's on this video on the fitter, and he's like little spandex shorts, and he's just like rocking it, and then he starts doing it with one leg, and I just about lose my mind. I was like, oh, I gotta meet this guy. The Bruce Hymanson from the Body Blade. So eventually at trade shows, I met these inventors of these products who were also the business owners, and they just have a passion for what they're doing, because they absolutely love meeting people that they've made an impact on. And so really early on, early 2000s, Louis Stack from Fitter, Bruce Hymanson, Body Blade, even a little bit later, Spring Fawcett, who's the inventor of the Tiger Tail. These inventors, they were like, if you need help, reach out to me and I will help you. And I did, and they did. And it was just masterful as far as like product questions and business structure, working, like manufacturing or distribution, things like that. So I've had that. I've also had, here in Orange County, we have, or within the small business, this SBA, Small Business Administration, we have a group called SCORE, and they provide free mentorship or business counseling, and they do free seminars. And nice. Early on, I went to those all the time, and you get inspired. You're in a room with people that they all have an idea. They're all in different stages of building their businesses, and it's just magical. It's like this really awesome energy. So I hooked up with a business mentor early on through that, and it was good initially, but then it was kind of steering me in the wrong direction, because he was like, go out door to door and do some sales. And initially I did that, but my product line, it just doesn't afford for that. It's not that type of a product. Yeah. So the things that he had to say were really good initially, in me also learning that was not the right direction. So it was a really good gift, because I'm not still 10 years later knocking on doors going, why isn't this working? And then I also have I have a customer turned business mentor. So he's a writer of he's a user of our products. So he understands it inside and out. And he just reached out to me. He was like, hey, you've got all this going on. If you need some help, yeah. So we talk all the time. I bounce things, off of him. He provides a listening ear and an unbiased and a biased perspective.
And we always need that as a business owner.
Yeah, so you got to hear the hard stuff sometimes. Like,
you do.
What are you doing?
Yeah, and sometimes I think you can. Sometimes we as the originators, the inventor could take it personally because it's our baby. But again, that's where that motto's the customer is right, kind of plays in. Just want to add that in there. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you have an opportunity to meet somebody, go talk to them, and see, and those who want to help you are the ones that are really having a great time with their business and product line.
Yeah, because I think it's also when you have those mentors with that great energy, it just spreads, motivation. You have to, and I think a lot of people always talk about finding that new circle. Ever since I started, this company, or I had that social media page before transitions, it was the most exciting thing that motivated me was the new circle of connections I made.
Yeah.
And I think kind of what you talked about, has validated for me over the past year and a half of just meeting new people and finding those other sources of motivation and new ideas and new ways to approach things.
Yeah, I've even talked to the owners of like Voodoo Balance Board and Indo, Drew and Hunter, and we've had conversations. We're competitive. We're all in the same arena. We're competitors, yet at the same time we're not. But the greater purpose is to provide something of worth for everybody, and to have quality of life and balance of life within your company. So yeah, go chat it up with some people, but there's definitely several ways of finding what's right for you and what's not right for you. Yeah. Okay, here's a good question. We're on M. Okay. Everybody. Okay. When to quit your day job and jump all the way in with your business?
Oh, man. Are you asking me right now?
No, I'm just. It was just on there, because a lot of people ask like, when are you quitting? When are you all in? Like, how are you burning the bridges at both ends? It's not quite a simple question. So, have you thought about it? And if you have, like, what's your process?
Yeah. So funny thing, I was thinking about you when someone is asking my high school, because my athletes know I have a small business. They love my kids. Like, when do you think you would leave? And I was thinking about what you said about your story, and right now I'm in this really hard divide of I personally feel like I'm mediocre at both things. Being an AT in my high school and running Nexus, and it's difficult. I've heard, like, the passion in me wants to just go all in on Nexus, but I also have to look at the financial responsibility with me getting ready to have a baby. I can still pick up per diem work on the side, but how much stuff is there to pick up? So it's a hard point. So that's the passionate side. I think on the more I guess true financial side, I've also heard things that you should have a year's worth of business expenses ready to go. But for me, as of right now, I definitely say I'm not ready to leave my current day job, because under my plan, I don't have the product lines developed to make everything sustainable. So at this point, it's Nexus, it truly isn't, full functioning, self-sustaining company yet, which is okay. It's at this time, I'm not expecting it to be, but I think I do have that transitioning point. Hopefully a few years down the line, it shouldn't be 10. I hope but I think with what I'm expecting, it's going to happen at some point. But even my athletes are freaking out. Like, no, you can't leave until like I'm a senior and she's a freshman.
Right.
But it's interesting though, just to think about that, because it's a scary thought. I bet you can elaborate again on it. It is scary.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people have said like, oh, he can't. Like friends of mine that are maybe married, have kids, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to start his own business. There's no way. We got a family. Like, there's no chance. Like he's got to stay with like a stable job, you know. And my youngest brother has said that too. Like, I got a family. Like, I don't know. It freaks me out. Like, you can run your business, you know. So yeah, there's a point where you're in that product development phase, and but you're still working, and I think that's
Mhm.
really important, especially if you do have um, yourself to support and others, to have something stable that you know is there. It may take you longer, but if that's what gives you peace of mind at night, then that's what you need to do.
Mhm.
But yeah, the thing about athletic trainers is you're so well versed in a lot of things. Like after I stopped working at the high school, I was at Santa Margarita Catholic High School for 3 years developing the product.
Mhm.
And at some point I was like, we're ready for sales. It's 2007. Let's go. Let's go. And
Yeah, go.
I had like 2 major surgeries, and that took a little bit longer to develop. And I was like, I can't keep doing it with the work schedule and my health, and
Yeah.
I'm ready. So that was a really big deciding factor. So the thing about athletic trainers, you're so versed in so many things. You have a great background to be able to, you know, work, pick up gigs on the side if you needed the
Mhm.
extra income, or go back into it. You you have that security net. So,
Mhm.
but there is a time when you just can't do both, and it's scary,
Mhm.
but if you're a little scared on it, then you kind of know that you're making the right decision to like
I agree with that statement. Absolutely.
jump on in. Yeah. And the other thing too is if you have the support of everybody,
Mhm.
um, it's great. Like I moved into this new facility in February. We had this huge flood at the end of last year after Christmas, and it was mud from the back door to the front. It was county road thing, eroded. So it was a week of cleanup, and it was two or 3 weeks of remediation, mold remediation. And I was like, this
Mhm.
has got to be a sign. Like the circuit breaker keeps popping. I can't work in here. It's so cramped. I'm like moving 3 tables to get to this one
Mhm.
thing to move these tables. And my friend was like, what is going to be the like that's it deciding factor to upgrade and
Yeah.
move to a new facility? And I was like, the mold test plates. I do not want another mold exposure. And man, those test plates were like 4-dimensional. They were like
Oh, geez.
walking, so and I knew it was in there. So I manifested this new amazing facility. um, there really there really isn't inventory of buildings around here, just in general in Orange County.
Okay.
A lot of people, a lot of companies have downsized, or they've just, so for what I needed initially from like 1,000 square feet, which was
Mhm.
great back when I needed it, but now it's just too cramped, not efficient, not working efficiently.
Yeah.
So I had manifested. I was looking around. There's nothing there. I thought there was something, but it was already rented. And I had my manifestation. I was like, I'm going to have a concrete wall to slam balls off of and throw things. I'm going to have my own private sports medicine room. I'm going to have high ceilings. And,
Yeah.
I've got a picture of my thing. And my landlord had something coming up at the end of the month. The guy had been in here for 20 years. And um, I just didn't put all my hopes into it, but I was like, let me go take a look. And I'm walking around the building, and I'm like, yeah, I love this. I love the security bars. It's got securities, and then I walk around and I see that the way the building is structured, one side of it
Mhm.
looks like a concrete wall, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna stay calm, just stay calm. Uh, and it ended up being it is just it's so amazing. And I was really freaking out over doing this because it's a huge financial jump, and just to
Mhm.
pack all your stuff up, even if it's quarter mile up the road.
Yeah.
uh, and so I took over the weekend to really think about it, talk with all my friends and my family about it, and they're like, you know what is the one thing that's holding you back? And I'm like, it's the financial thing. And they're like, we got you. If you need help with, covering the rent, it's fine. But this is what you've been dreaming about. And this is going to make you more efficient. And when you're more efficient working, you're saving money, really, because I'm like losing daylight at the old place.
And time too.
And time, yeah. So I don't know how that got on.
No, it's cool because it's really like, no, but it's talking your story. It solidifies it, because sometimes it takes a very specific moment to really, maybe it's fate, or that moment tells you, okay, this is really, now it's the time to do it. Because I talked to my CPA, here and there, just about updates and stuff, and he just and I tell him, like, I'm Brian, I'm losing it right now. It's not just me in product design, because that's easy for me. It's the part that's the most difficult is the admin. Literally, as we talked before, just doing everything else by myself. Then I go into my high school, and I have to do the afternoon rush, and my brain's already fried before I do it. So,
right.
So I got a question real quick. So if we're looking down at the list, in testing, y'all have talking about different interchangeable materials and product supply, and is your product safe? So just recently I talked with my friend Paul Calloway over at Myotech, and he was talking about all the supply chain disruption that's going on right now. He gave me a list of several issues and things, like, okay, well, hey, if you can't get the tape that you ordered, you need to talk with your distributor, right? And so the guys over at Myotech were just telling me some of the things that we need to make sure we do as we're doing that. So as you're going through the testing, I know last time y'all talked about the different types of material. And then I think, Jay, actually you had a conversation with the guys over at Myotech as far as putting your product and selling it with them. So let's continue on that line. Just currently in the situation, as we're recording this, it is September 21st, 2021, and there's a huge supply chain disruption. How does that play into your product and creating and establishing your business and testing?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first because it's off top of my head. So something I'm working on with the next order, it's going to be much bigger. So the first thing I asked, supplier, okay, what are we looking like with COVID protocols within the factory? I need to know what's going on as well. So they kind of gave me, their timelines. So I'm going to make an announcement in the future on how that's going to be approached with the next order. But with the supply line in general, it's weird how it affects not one little item can affect, the whole thing. So for example, the buckle I've wanted from the first order, I still can't get it for this order. They're behind on this one very big buckle for, from what I understand, another 6 months. So does this mean I'm going to push back, version 2 of the dead bug 6 months? No, you just go something else, that by research and from, physical testing could be just as good. And I think there's enough, and Elise, you could probably comment on this, there's enough market competition or availability of different types of products under a specific category that you could use. So and you just have to be able to make that shift.
In that, as you're talking about product testing, so you test this product, and you're like, okay, I like this, but now you're 6 months. So what do you do there? Like, do you test something else and then 6 months find out it's another 6 months?
It's hard. That's honestly the most difficult part here, because for example, the dead bug version 2, I'm going to make a change to a specific zipper pull type and an interior modification. So, and that's also from personal experience, Jeremy. So for me, using specific materials with tactical products, that's where I feel confident, with going with this second iteration. I'm going to get one type of zipper pull, and then another prototype is going to get a different one that I've used before. Just compare, contrast, and I make that analysis? Will there be any issues in mass production? And I think this is a key decision also as a business owner to really, it helps that when you have physical experience before you're using. So, with the first version of the dead bug with the monkey fist paracord zipper pull, I had no issues. And now, there's a couple of hiccups with some people needing replacements, which is fine. I can get them out. But again, it's about, putting the experience behind it and seeing what you have availability from the supplier. And that's where it's really important to have a supplier that has a crap load of stuff available for you to make those adjustments as needed. Because even in production, you can make changes. That's why I did the first iteration of the dead bug. I added an additional pocket, and they were able to do it while they were getting all the materials cut and ready to sew. hopefully that helps out.
DC, I'm sure this is not
Yeah.
the first time you've been part of a
Right.
supply chain disruption.
Yeah.
So
Right.
talk a little bit from your experience and on how you test that and how you make those changes.
Yeah. So for parts that I get in that aren't specifically manufactured for me, like mesh, we make a bag system with mesh. Um, I go with manufacturers who manufacture in the United States and as local as possible. My company that manufactures rope for our rope balls, they're local. They're 20 minutes down the road, and I keep a good conversation going with them. Like, how's your supply chain? Now I don't use a lot of rope, so when I do buy it, there is a minimum order, but I do buy it in a large quantity so that I have it on hand. Because my thing is like, I know I'm gonna need it, so I'm gonna buy it, and it's gonna bring in sales. Um, my rail guys are great. If you can get more things out of one item, so they call them sticks of the steel tubing, and they'll buy it in 20-foot lengths. And out of that 20-foot length, I can get 3 rails, or I can get two larges and one medium rail, because they're gonna use it to like the very last inch, right? But my rail guys, we have such a great relationship. He's like, I know that I need to look for, it's 20 inches, 20 feet and 2 inches, so that I can maximize it versus having 5 feet of waste and cut off. So I would say try to do that. Really maximize every piece that you can. My urethane guys, we have a gas issue and gas and oil issue, and it was around the timing of the gas thing that we had going on the East Coast, and there's a ration on the chemical products. So the chemical companies were rationing out how many barrels of urethane they would give the urethane manufacturers. So we really had to just squeeze in tight and make do with what you have. But when if you have the opportunity to buy things more in bulk and it doesn't take up a lot of space in your shop, then do that so that you have extra, because you know that you're going to sell them, and you just bring it in an extra 100 or something. Having different manufacturers that have the potential to do the same thing for you would be really good. Like, technically I should have 2 companies that could do railing, do the tube bending and all that for me. I don't, but I also am not fearful of the current company that I have going under.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, but if you can have several suppliers for the same thing or similar thing, and make adjustments that way, it's really, really important. And that's in your research and development, where you've got a humongous binder of all of these companies who are doing, that. But having local vendors is really, has been really key to me being sustainable. And then not having such a broad list of components that I need from all different types of materials. Like we specialize in steel, Baltic birch plywood, and urethane. Basically, those 3 things. I'm trying to make everything, with those 3 things in mind.
Nice.
So that's been good for me. But on the flip side, if there's ever a problem with urethane, like can't use it ever again, then you have a problem. So it's kind of catch-22, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, through COVID, customers have been very understanding with, we have a problem with the supply chain and workforce, and we are asking for your patience, and they've been great with that. But yeah, things change. Like the Baltic birch plywood from 10-15 years ago is way different than it is now. It has to do with, when they cut it in Russia, the ground has to be frozen, and there isn't old growth anymore. It's new virgin growth trees. So the structure of the plywood is different. It cuts a little different. It splinters different. It's different to work with. So you just have to adapt to it. And then there's other things where you can't use a product in the process because of EPA standards or safety things. You know, they used to put lead in paint, right? Because it was so amazing for pigments, but you can't be around lead paint, you know.
Nope.
Yeah. So that's for me, you know, going local. Yeah. Let me see. Where else?
This makes me grateful. I work mainly with nylon.
Yeah, and that is a super product. Yeah,
It is. There's a lot of nylon.
Yeah, you know, and it just gives you some peace of mind too, that you know that it's going to be it's going to hold up, right? You don't have to deal with so many problems.
Did you want to move on to a specific line? Yeah.
No, I was looking for Jeremy.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
You know, Jeremy, I wanted to say that you've mentioned twice now that you're not a business owner or have a physical product, but I want to say that you have created this podcast series that is your own, and your blood, sweat, and tears and everything, and it's going to live on for perpetuity. So, you know, Jay and I have a physical product that people are going to use, and it's something you got to go grab and use and, you know, work with. But yours is something that you can listen to at any time. You can, you know, you're driving into work. I'm like, I'm going to put in a podcast, and you're providing information. So what you have invented is you've invented yourself through your podcast to really enrich everybody. So, like, you're an inventor, Jeremy. I want to hear you say it. I'm a business owner and I'm an inventor.
I can say I'm an inventor, because I definitely, like, you know, I created the podcast, but the business owner, like I said, I tried twice, it didn't work. And so that's why I would prefer they ask you guys the questions. So as far as creating the podcast, you know, I've talked about it before. You know, I reached out to the AT Corner podcast, the Candid AT guys, a couple other the different podcasts, athletic training related, and said, hey, here's what has worked for me. Hey, as I was listening, this helped, this didn't help. And so I kind of am, you know, I put myself in that role of, hey, I've been doing this a long time. This has worked. This hasn't worked. Let me help you. Because it wasn't about, oh, wait, I don't want anybody listening to your show. It's like, hey, if somebody wants to listen to, I think if you can see my background, the Candid AT, you can see part of it. You know, if somebody wants to listen to them, they're completely different than me, right? And cool. They're going to help. They got a lot of young professionals, a lot of college students that listen, so they can learn about the profession and things like that. That's fine. But like you said, I have invented something that is helpful. And I'll completely agree to, yes, I'm an inventor. However, I would not say I'm a business owner.
Well, maybe not like you have the business license, but in some aspect. I'm still giving you props for it. All right,
well, I will humbly accept it.
Okay. Yeah. But for sure, you've definitely have invented something that is going to live on, and that's amazing. You know, it's not a one and done thing, right? And the other thing too is you can go back. You know, as far back to your podcast. Somebody can go back to podcast number 1 and listen to it. So that's still there.
Please don't. But
right?
yes.
I'm tempted to do this on my way to work today.
Yeah. Versus like maybe version 1 of our product. Like, we don't want to go back to version 1 of our product, right?
Right.
No. Oh my God. It's crazy. I'm going on to version 2 now. Yeah, it's, you know, the bags are in. Hey guys, I'm working on version 2 3 months later. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's great to be able to listen to your community, like, you know, the feedback that you're getting in product testing, so that you can make adjustments that fit the needs for you know, various people. Let me see.
Do you want to go into I'm down to go. Do you want to go into broken products?
Into what?
Broken
Broken products. Yeah.
All right. I'll let you start out with. You had a good reaction. I'll let you roll off on this first.
Don't make them. Yeah, it's part of the process. You're gonna have something. I'm very much like, my eyes are on everything. End stages, quality control. I've built every single original board, so if that product breaks, that's on me. And I've really refined the recipe. Like, don't change if the recipe's working, don't change the recipe, right? But over time, you do find, some efficiencies and things, but you can't cut the corners, because then you're potentially, something is going to break. And these things happen. So, you'll see a lot of companies that do their warranty is 30 days or 3 years or 5 years or lifetime warranty. And I think as a business, you have to think about, like, does that work for you? What type of product do you want that has the high turnover or the lifetime warranty, because it's not going to break, or you'll honor a lifetime warranty, but maybe you won't say it. You'll wait for something to happen, but if they're not like using and abusing it, right? If they're like dragging it behind their car and they're like, hey, this is not working out, then that's on them. But yeah, it's sometimes hard to make something indestructible because you're working with materials. Like, a lot of people don't understand that each material has its own properties. Like, each board top has its own characteristics, and I may do a certain process with one, and it's maybe not going to quite work with the other one because it's a living, thing. Same thing with the rails. They one stick may bend and spring back at a different rate than the other one. So there's variability. Like, if you're building spaceships, like, you have no tolerance, right, for variability. right. Versus, like, can you have a 3 millimeter variability in this one design aspect? Does it affect the function of it? And if it doesn't, then you might be okay. But yeah, in dealing with returns, you're gonna learn, like, what was it that you were doing with the product that it had a failure point? Where is that failure point? Can I make the adjustments? And don't always apologize for things. I think we say sorry a lot, just way too much. Just say thank you. Say thank you. Stop saying sorry I'm late. Say thank you for waiting. Like, wow, thank you for pointing out that. Let me address that immediately. Yeah, that's what I got.
That's a lot. For me, I guess I'm on a really similar end too. So it's kind of, I wish that I could, like you, be on hand for every aspect of quality control, but I'm nowhere near that way yet. So I think that's where right now a big part of me trying to control, if prevent damages is the design. So I think the toughest thing about the dead bug is that it is, I don't want to say it's not a complex design. It just has a lot of features. So I think when you have a bag that has a lot of features, there's so many different things that have to be done on the end of stitching. And that's where, in mass production, I know little, slips are going to happen through the cracks just because, you're working with, just people working on, putting bags together by human hand. Not everything's going to be perfect. Material is important too. So I've kind of learning, and I've already had in stone to where as we go along with more orders, more material availability, it's going to, we're going to see upgrades in the future. And that's what's going to happen with the second iteration. With me, if anything has any damage, I'll just, replace it. That's what I have set in stone right now, at least with my product warranty. I would like to get to the point where I do have a lifetime, but the company's only 7 months old. So, so I'm trying to get to that point too. And like you said, there's certain factors, being used with the product. Is mine getting used and abused? It depends on who's, the AT that's using the bag. With mine, I've used it pretty well. And that's where I actually found little hiccups with my prototype to figure out, this is where I need to reinforce, this is where I need to change the material, this is where I need to maybe change the dimension of it, this is where the stitching has to be put in place for the next time. And it's all kind of all these little things I analyze just from me using my own prototypes and listening back to the community. And I think that's where I'm always asking, let me know what you think. And the part that sucks is that, I can't listen specifically to one person if it doesn't universally fit, the whole, what I'm saying? I don't know if I can't listen to one specific comment just to fit the needs of that one specific person, if it doesn't work for everyone else. So I think I think you'll see that's a challenging part with design in general.
Yeah, for sure. I had somebody call me and just did the 80-20, he was 20% but took up 80% of the time, and he really wanted a custom rail size that was 2 inches larger than the medium rail. This weird like dimension, and I was like, no, it's possible, but I'm gonna charge you $1,000 to do it because rail, and he's like, well, why can't you just cut it and put some space? And it was just on and on and on. I'm like,
it's not that simple.
No is a complete sentence. No. And at some point you just have to say, I think this product line is not for you, and I'm not going to be able to meet your needs, and bye. And then you just control no.
Watch that person leave a nasty review on Google.
yeah, that's on them. In talking about nasty reviews, nasty comments, I really take it as an opportunity to flip the switch and say, thanks for your comments. Here, not being like defensive, but an opportunity to educate, like why urethane is so amazing. And people are like, you're too expensive, like all kinds of crazy comments. But really take that opportunity to put yourself out there, to elevate yourself, be helpful to whoever else is going to read those comments. So like, wow, that is a good point about that product. And then you just like squash that hate comment and use it as a really good opportunity.
You just move on.
Yeah, right. There was one thing in here. Oh, is it hype or is it real? Managing people who want product for free and offer false promises.
Oh man. Let's see. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you get that a lot. You've created something that's amazing that people want, and which is great. And some people are upset that they don't want to afford it, so they write hate comments to you, or they think that you should just be giving it out for free. And the way I think of it is like, if you're doing that, then just open up my wallet and just take hundreds and hundreds of dollars out for it, because there's no real thing like, I'm going to put you on social media, I'm going to do this, and like really being a good detective of, is this just a fake hype, just smoke and mirrors, or is this really truly going to be a good partnership, and investigating what they have in social media, things like that. For me, I'm very selective if I choose to do that. It's like we had somebody that had a family with one of their kids had some type of disability, so I made a custom board for that one specific thing, but that was my choice. But and that doesn't happen often, and I'm not expecting anything out of it. Like, I'm not expecting social media, and I don't even talk about it that I did that. So for me, that's real. And for me, the hype is just people saying all kinds of crazy things. Like, I've got 100,000 followers on social media, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, but there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And there's no guarantee that those people like actually want your product. So anybody that has said something nice about me are actual product users who have invested their own hard-earned money into me and the product line. And that's for me, that's a more genuine, comments or genuine testimonial.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're gonna get that all the time. Like, you know, you got 100 of these. Why can't you just give me one? Like,
Yeah, it's oh man, you know, oh man, it's how do I think now with the the social media age, it's definitely it's like you said, you don't know who's talking to you. Every other day I'll get some random account that's it's a message request I've never seen before, and that's where I can tell, all right, this is fake. But I've connected with people that from what I can tell are genuine. But I agree. But you'll hear some people just kind of sound like they're just it's a little bit too much. They just want something for free, or like you said, it's just a topic about people just not wanting to pay the full price of your product. I've been extremely grateful and just thankful to anyone who has a dead bug who's watching that they've taken the time not just invest in the dead bug with me, because I was really doubtful with our community, would people pay for a sling bag that's higher than I think most of the sling bags in AT market. It's not the most expensive tactical sling bag in the whole tactical market, but it's not the cheapest either. I know there's a problem I wanted to address was people just buying the really super cheap sling bags on Amazon, because I know mine defeats the design. So that's where I'm just hopefully trying to solve the problem. Will they be willing to pay more for my design? Because it's that motto, cry one, buy once, cry once, because it's just trying to do it, make the best thing out there. And then with the best thing, someone's going to want to try to snag it for free if possible. And yes, I do know someone who's done it for multiple companies, just getting free stuff. I wish I could be like that, but I think it's a challenge though. Let me see what it is.
yeah.
And then the false promises, I think with my personality, I will say if someone, if there's an agreement for me to send out something for marketing, I will burn them. That's just me, just my military mentality, because I take things very seriously. I'm not gonna be kind about it on the record.
Right.
If that happens, then I will burn them. That's just me.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so Alicia, Jay, make sure y'all send those free products to me.
Send me your logo. I'll make you a custom board.
I would definitely send you a shirt though, because I keep seeing your board. I'm like, I gotta send you one of the new Nexus edition shirts.
Here we go. Or, like you said, if it's something that I think is legit, then I should be willing to pay for it. So we can talk about that offline. But with that being said, it's about time to wrap this one up. Again, we're going to do part 3, hopefully next week. If not, then 2 weeks, whatever it is. This one was disrupted because of Hurricane Nicholas. But follow that. And then I know Toki's been in the comments, and we had Rob last week talking about the grant that I think District 6 is offering, one of the districts, for entrepreneurs. So check that out. Join that conversation. We want to answer your questions live or pre-submitted. We want to share your story. So Toki was saying something about he actually was on the first phase of Shark Tank. So I want to hear more about that, since you guys mentioned that, and just see what that process is and share that with all the athletic trainers. So Alicia, last time you gave us your info at si-boards.com as your best way to contact you. So info at si-boards.com. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then Jay mostly on Instagram, but also on Twitter, Nexus Sports Med. So reach out on Instagram, because that's going to be his favorite. Then I am Mr. Jeremy Jackson. Anything else you want to say, anything else you guys want to say about reaching out or contacting you?
Feel free. You don't have to sound super professional. Just talk to me. I'm very, very laid back. I'm just here to have a, easy conversation. Doesn't have to be super professional sounding, like a business email or business text.
Yeah. Say hi, ask for free stuff. It's good.
So I heard on the podcast you were saying you're giving out free stuff.
Yeah, right. I want that. I want the $1,000 option. Yeah.
I want the dead bug that's not even out yet.
Yeah, I want version 4.
Yeah, the one I haven't even produced yet.
Yeah.
All right,
so
sports. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, so next, so we talked about you got your design. We've established your business, and next week we're talking about getting it to market. Right?
Getting it to market.
Like production. What's your structure? Oh yeah.
That's where things get really crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so
really
this
fun.
is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/AT Inventors. 2, again, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/ATInventors2, where I should have most of the transcript up. I'll have some links. I'll have the ways to contact and all that stuff. And again, thanks to Paul Calloway from Myotech for reaching out and telling me some of the shortages, and I can post those up there too as we kind of prepare our budgets and make sure you order stuff early. So Alicia, Jay, I appreciate it, and I know that all of the inventors or possible inventors will appreciate your words of wisdom and experience. So for Jeremy, Alicia, Jay, and the Sports Medicine Broadcast, that is a wrap. Thanks.
Nice job. High five, guys. Put it up. Boom.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good stuff. Are we still live, Jeremy?